Facebook is online. We are going to Twitch. All right, YouTube is online. All right. And Twitch is online. We got 4 minutes until we start. Making sure that all my chat monitors are working and everything. My first time doing this, so I want to make sure that everything is proper. Let's open this up. All right, cool. So we got comments. We got everything that we need there. And yeah. Still got 3 more minutes to go, but we are live. That. Still 2 more minutes to go until we start. How's it going, Sam? Thanks. How's the audio and video stream? Everything looking smooth? No like super frame drops or anything like that? Fantastic. Cool. Thanks, Sam. Oh, we got a couple of people on Facebook too. Cool. How's it going, Brendan? Good to see you, man. Thanks for joining me. Sorry I couldn't answer the phone earlier. I was trying to figure out a couple things up here, make sure that the streaming goes well tonight. Video is a little bit framey, Sam says on Twitch. It might be on your end, but I don't know. We'll see what other people say on the. We'll see what other people say. I'm gonna monitor YouTube really quick. Let's see what we got. All right, it is 6 p.m. and we got a few people on Facebook. We got a few people on Twitch. We got 2 people on YouTube. So how's it going, everyone? Good to see you all. Thanks for joining me for my very first Ask Me Anything tech stream. My name is Vincent Ippolito, and I own a recording studio in Arlington Heights, which is a suburb of Chicago in Illinois. And I have been a producer for, I'd say, well, full time, I've been a producer for just about 10 years now, but I have been doing production ever since I was a teenager, since I was a lad, uh, back in 2002. And I have been a recording studio owner for about 6 years now. We're in our 7th year, and we're also in our third year at this location. And I am basically here to answer all of your questions that you have regarding all things audio, video, music tech, any of those things that you might have. We can cover anything from basic questions, starting around cabling, starting around what kind of microphone this is, or what kinds of microphones you could use. We can talk about interfaces, interfaces on how you would record yourself at home, anything regarding your home rig, trying to understand workstations, audio software, all those things. And yeah, I'm basically just here as your online tech support guru. Do I know everything? Absolutely not. I think that's impossible to know everything. But luckily, we do have a lot of technology that here that we can talk about, that I can give you a lot of information on. And if any of you have any questions for anything that is not immediately able for me to talk about and give you expertise on, we can always Google it, and we can find some information together. I'm always trying to spread information, trying to help people understand the world around them in terms of audio and music and video. And hopefully I can shed some light on some questions that you all have. So with everything here, I'm just going to wait for a couple of people to maybe ask some questions and see if we can get started on that. We got some more people on Facebook. How's it going, Facebook? Good to see you all. We got a couple of people on Twitch too. We got 2 viewers on Twitch. What's going on, Twitch peeps? And we got 2 people in YouTube too. How's it going, YouTube? Hey George, how's it going? We got my friend George over on Facebook asking when we're going to start streaming. And oh yeah, we're on Twitch too, man. We are streaming live right now. What is the compressor settings for a slap funk bassist? Asks my client and friend Danny Glazer. For slap funk bassist, I'd have to say that I don't know. I've met a lot of people who just are ridiculous on bass, and usually I'm not trying to completely destroy the dynamics and everything that they're doing with their thumb, although those transients do kind of pop out a lot. So usually a fast attack with a pretty slow release, with a pretty fast release, is going to help mitigate all of those those heavy transients. And from there, you can just kind of take something that looks really spiky and just kind of ride it out a little bit, and help them seat into the mix a little bit better, and then bring up the level from there. So that's usually what I go for. Usually somewhere in the range of like 30 to 50, maybe 60 milliseconds on the attack. If you're looking at something like that, on the release, pretty quick. Maybe even some compressors have an automatic release setting that I would kind of reach for on that. A lot of compressors have great ratio. So this kind of gets into a little bit of a difference between compressors. One of my favorite compressors that I use in the studio is actually the Waves API 2500. And when it comes to ratio, I'm usually setting the ratio a little bit more. Well, actually, if it's a funk slap bassist, I'm going to set the ratio a little bit more moderate, usually maybe like 3, 4, 5 to 1. And then from there, I'll like set the threshold a little bit, like a little bit more set in, because they're going to be doing a lot more dynamic stuff. So I want that to kind of catch those smaller pops, but I don't want it to kill it. So usually a pretty moderate ratio for, like I said, about 4 or 5 dB to 1. If you start using something like an 1176, those ratios start to, between 4, 8, 12, 20, all in, they start to change drastically, based on which one you're using. So from there, kind of becomes more of an ear test. What is a hard knee? All right. So Danny's grilling me here with the hard questions. He's also he's a producer himself of sorts, and definitely an amazing composer. So he's given me the hard questions. I love it though. So a hard knee is essentially as you have audio that is approaching a set threshold on a compressor. You've got the audio and it's following its envelope as it's going up. When that compressor hits, when it actually engages, when the audio hits above that threshold, you're going to have something called a knee. And on some hardware, on most hardware, the knee is set by the components. But on a lot of things that we use today, like especially stock compressors, you'll have a setting for a hard or a soft knee. And that knee is basically going to be how, like, you already know how quick the compressor is going to engage, but it's also going to ratio that out and scale it as it's approaching and going above that threshold as well. So if you have a hard knee, then a hard knee is basically going to be, once it's at that threshold, you are at immediately, like right however you set your attack, you are going to be running along that exact ratio that you set. However, if you have a soft knee and the envelope is coming up, approaching threshold, you're going to end up with something that engages a little bit easier. Greg on Facebook says Coke or Pepsi. Man, I got to tell you, it's been a long time since I've had a Pepsi, but I'd have to go with Coke just for right now, just because that orange Coke kind of be hitting, if you know what I mean. Thanks, Danny. Ray, how's it going? What's your guitar bus chain looking like? Okay, we got Ray on YouTube asking a question. What is my guitar bus chain looking like? So it kind of depends. If you're doing something, and you're going to find that a lot of these production questions are going to start with, it kind of depends, because you got to use your ears first more than anything else. But if you're talking about a guitar bus, maybe it's got a little bit of clean, a little bit of drive, nothing too crazy, like more rock tones. I'm usually going to be setting it with a minor amount of EQ, maybe to take out some very, very, whiny or whistly kind of overtones, things that are going along inside the actual things that are going along inside the sound that maybe just kind of cloud the mix a little bit. So I'll pull out some of those little bits of overtones. Usually guitar signal is pretty compressed. It's already, if you look at it, it's not very spiky as a waveform. So, you don't want to use a compressor necessarily, but you may want to use certain types of tape saturation to kind of give it a little bit of just a little bit of leveling, maybe a little bit of limiting, nothing super crazy, not like finalization or anything like that level, but definitely want to get, just help it ride out. And a great plugin that I like using for that is definitely going to be the like any kind of LA3A. The CLA3A, which is by Waves, and that is a fantastic plugin that just kind of mitigates. It's very slow compressor limiter, but if you use it on limit, it's very slow to act, so it still lets your guitar breathe, but you will end up with something that is just a little bit more controlled. And so very minor amounts of EQ, very minor amounts of limiting, things like that, that just help the guitar to, you know, like rest in the mix and not get overwhelming. If you've got a lot of bass or a lot of high end or a lot of chiminess in your clean channel or in your drive channel, you may want to do a little bit of multi-band compression, which is where you isolate certain bands like the low frequencies or the mids or the highs. And it's not going to necessarily scoop it out like an EQ, but it'll, as it, like we were talking with compressors, it'll approach a threshold, and then as it actually forms, it'll just kind of like just like pop it out a little bit. It'll just compress just those frequencies. Again, just little bits of control here and there. You don't want to go too crazy with your guitar chain. What you really want to do is have a fantastic sound off of the mic, things like that. Love the LA3A. Typically only doing 1 to 2 dB of gain reduction. Yeah, exactly. The LA3A is just amazing. Just letting that VU meter just barely touch, you know, just barely move. And yeah, the C4, dude, honestly, between the C4 and the C6, I know a lot of people are really into Fab Filter, and that dynamic EQ is great, but I've been using the C4, and when the C6 came out, giving you sidechain capability, like, I love that set of plugins, and yeah, awesome use there. Great control. By the way, Ray is on YouTube over here, is a amazing producer. He is a neighbor of mine in the neighboring town. He owns a runs a recording studio called Lubeck Studios. Great place in Mount Prospect. Lots of bands rehearsed there. Great records made. No, Ray, you're great. Thank you so much, man. Thanks for joining the stream. I appreciate it. You should come out and see the place sometime. I've seen your studio. You know, you got a beautiful space there to record and produce in. You should come hang sometime at my place. Let's see what else we got going on. I'm going to kind of click through my chat windows a little bit here. See what I can see what I can find. Greg. Now, Greg is really asking the important questions here. Do I like rugby? Bro, I wish that I could say that I like rugby because it looks like an awesome game. I played football in in grade school and high school, but you know, they didn't offer rugby, and it looks like an awesome game. Ray with another great question on YouTube. Cheesy question. Well, he says that it's a cheesy question. Desert Island amp and then a Desert Island mic. Ooh, this is rough. This is going to be tough. Desert Island amp. I mean, I don't know if you guys know this or if you've been on our website or seen any of our actual photos of the studio, but we have this amazing amp wall to my right over here. It might be to your left, actually. And we got a lot of great amps, and I've played through some fantastic amps, but there is one amp that consistently ends up on almost every record that someone's doing, anything rock or metal or anything that requires any kind of like distortion or like just like brazen clean tone, overdriven clean tone, and that is the Splon Quick Rod. It is built kind of like 4 or 5 Marshalls in one, and the thing just rips. It's got like a plexi mode. It's got a JCM 800 sound in it. It's amazing. Also, ours is rattlesnake skin wrapped and like a Tolex, so like it just looks hot. But a Desert Island mic, microphone, I got to think about that for a second. I know that everyone is going to say SM57, and it's true. An SM57 is going to do a lot of things for you, but I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to say, like, if I'm looking for something affordable, I'd actually have to say a Beta 57, just because you can get a tighter pickup on it. I like the sound profile on it a lot better for most things. And it's just a fantastic microphone for under $200. If we're going to talk about a desert island microphone with no budget, I mean, I have to say, Telefunken, some kind of Telefunken U47, probably the FET model, the non-tube model. In time that I spent at CRC and a couple other studios, like just hearing that thing on kick drum, on acoustic guitar, on vocals, on guitar cabinet, on piano, it works on every single source. And I wish that I could afford a Telefunken U47. That would be amazing. But these days there are a lot of amazing other budget-oriented microphones that are, under $1,000 that get you a very, very similar sound. So I'm lucky to have one of those, and honestly, it's been serving me really, really well over the years. So yeah, TLDR, Desert Island amp, Splon quick rod, Desert Island microphone, U47 FET. Good question. I'm going to have to ask you that one next time I see you. I'm going to fire that one back at you, Ray. Just so you guys know, we are going to be doing this at least today until about 7 o'clock. Unless I get a bunch of questions right at the end, then it can probably run a little bit later. But I'm not trying to do this all night, but also I want to give us enough time to like talk about some things and answer some setup questions if you guys have them. If you're running into trouble in your home DAW and your home recording rig, and you want to like ask me about some possible fixes. Maybe you just bought a new preamp and you're not exactly sure how it works or what is a DI box or something like this. Like what can it do for you as a guitarist recording at home? Anything like that. Any kind of beginner question. Like I want this to be a truly open, ask me anything. No question is too dumb or too rudimentary. We're really trying to reach out and just spread information here. Got all my monitors up. I was thinking about kind of preparing a little bit of material to try and like edge the conversation forward a little bit, but this stream I kind of want to just leave it open for you guys. I don't want to be talking about something for 10 minutes and then someone asks a good question and then I got to stop. So I'd like, at least for this time, just to keep you guys with questions coming, and whatever questions anyone asks, and if we got a little bit of time that we just got to sit and chill, it's okay. It's not a big deal. Oh, we got a couple more people watching on Twitch. We got 4 viewers on Twitch. That's pretty cool. Ray has some awesome questions. Thanks for the help today, man. He asked via YouTube my preferred overhead style. such as XY, coincident pair, spaced, ORTF. Um, you know what I actually really, really like on overheads these days is running the spaced pair. I was really afraid of it for a while because I didn't know, drum set is so complicated. There's so many different pieces at different distances, and phase becomes like a really big problem in that if you don't know what you're doing. But I really enjoy spaced pair for most things, most modern style recordings. Um, but uh, but I actually really really prefer ORTF to the XY coincident pair, just because you kind of get like a bit wider of a range, like like symbols and things on one side aren't so much crossing over and creating this wider center. You're kind of getting a more nulled center and just kind of like a left crash isn't going to sound left of center. It's going to sound more left. A right china is going to sound more right as opposed to right of center. So I usually enjoy that just a little bit more. But to maximize that, like especially if I'm doing anything with heavy guitars, it's going to come into, how much can we separate things? So that's where the space pair really comes in. So when we do a space pair on a drum overhead, uh, one of the big things to watch for is distance from the overhead to the snare drum, because anytime that snare drum hits, it's going to be the loudest thing on the entire drum kit. And if it's closer to one mic than the other, then it's going to be firing a little bit off center every time. And that's pretty annoying to deal with in a mix. So, what you got to do is with that space pair, measure things out. And, or if you have a pretty minimalist kit, then you can even like measure it out to like somewhere between the kick and the snare. And you can, if you're going to be using a lot of overheads in your drum mix as like a overall map of the drum layout, yeah, just kind of measuring that distance, and the space pair is going to give you that extra wide. But if I need things a little bit closer to the center, the music isn't so claustrophobic. It's just a little bit smaller mix. The Aura TF is definitely my way to go. Um, yeah, and actually, only recently, I've always used condensers as my overheads, because they give you that extra bright, detailed sound of the cymbals decaying and the extra, like sweet attack on, any little floating cymbal parts, or, like that attack on your toms and, like snare and stuff like that. But recently, I got a really nice pair of mics, which are not that expensive. They're a Cascade Fathead, with Lundahl transformers, and they're a ribbon mic. And I really enjoy having that just kind of more rolled off sound on the cymbals on smaller mixes. It just kind of comes out really sweet, and even as a spaced pair, because they're actually bidirectional, so they're going to pick up what's below them, the drum kit, and also what's above them, which is the reflection off the ceiling, which is very, very nice. Hi Danielle, how's it going? This is my friend Danielle from childhood. Actually, she's joining us on Facebook. Good to see you. Yeah. Um, Ray asking me whether or not I have the Fathead 1 or Fathead 2. I got the Fathead 1 um, when I ordered them last year, because everything that I read about them, the Fathead 2 was exactly the same as the Fathead 1, but just this, like a slightly girthier design built for live, which I had no need for. So I just went with the Fathead ones. But the Lundahl transformers have been really, really nice, because I've used Fatheads before without them, and they were just so quiet. They were a little bit more like this SM7B, where you got to use a lot of gain, but the transformer on the inside, helping push the gain up a little harder. Especially being a ribbon mic, you need a lot of gain for that. So it just made things like way easier to use. I can plug them into like almost any preamp in the rack. So yeah, Fathead one is sweet. They kind of nailed it the first time around. All right. We have officially been live for 30 minutes. This is really cool. I feel great being out here with you guys. I appreciate you having me and also the support from my posting before we actually started. I'm hoping to do this twice a week, something like Tuesday nights and Thursday nights from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., something like that. So I can just kind of, you know, be your online, tech support. If you've got questions about things, if you just want to talk about audio, if you just want to talk about music, if you want to talk music theory with me, I have been an instrumentalist for about 30 years now across guitar, drum set, bass guitar. I do bits of piano. I played bits of trumpet in college. I've done lots and lots of different things over the years, all different styles of music. I am pretty proficient in most of the like daily music theory that we could possibly go over. If you start talking about jazz theory with me, you might need to find someone more like Adam Neely. But other than that, if you've got any questions about modes or keys or anything like that, I'm your guy. Oh, little camera thing. And we're back up again. So this is part of trying to figure out how I can keep my DSLR on all the time, because I think it shuts off around 30 minutes. It shuts off the LCD screen. So the sooner that I can figure that out, hopefully by Thursday, that's not going to happen again. Kind of spent the morning trying to figure that out, but we'll get used to it. We'll get it figured out. What is my streaming setup for these kinds of things? That's a really good question. So currently, let's start with the audio chain. I'm actually running my Shure SM7B into our 1073 style preamp. I've got one unit that has two preamps in it, and right now we're pushing at plus 60 on the input, and the output is wide open, and that's going into our system, into running into Cubase, which is my preferred DAW of choice. I've been using it since 2002. And from there, sorry, let me open this up again. From there, I'm actually running, so because I'm on Mac, actually the core audio on Mac has a little bit of an issue with connecting certain audio streams into OBS. I'm using OBS as my streaming software, and OBS will combine the audio and video and then put it out there to the internet for you to watch and listen to. But I have to use a little proxy called Blackhole, which has been, Blackhole, which is a fantastic little just kind of acts as like an ASIO for all style thing. It's just a little audio proxy to go between software, and that takes all the audio into OBS. My video side of that is coming through my Canon KISS X7i, which is basically a Japanese version of a Rebel T5i, and that is going mini HDMI into a capture card, which is then going into the system and processed by OBS as a webcam. It's pretty simple setup right now, but we're trying to expand into having multiple cameras, multiple bodies, multiple HD feeds, so that we can do some things with some live bands in the live room and stuff like that. But for right now, this is kind of a really nice beta test for how streaming works on our system, combining the audio and the video, getting it out to you all, and figuring all that out. So it's kind of where I'm at with it right now. Pretty simple setup. Ray, I know that I think I was talking to someone from Lubeck, and I can't remember, but I remember them saying that you guys were trying to get into some streaming too, and I think it's just a super cool way to go. If you guys are, because especially because you guys have that, that beautiful rehearsal room and things like that, so you know we can definitely do a lot with that these days, since bands just are not having any way to perform out like they used to. Venues are kind of not quite opening up yet. uh the state of the whole scene is just pretty slow right now, but lots of people writing music, lots of people recording music, but I don't know. I get the impression from a lot of my clients that they miss performing for people, and I get the impression from a lot of my friends that they miss going out to shows. So we got to find some way to like bring that back together, right? Got some people coming in and out of Facebook. I see that number going up and down on the watcher feed. So until about 7 o'clock, I'm still here answering any of your questions regarding audio and video tech, music theory, music tech, instruments, guitars, amps, drums, preamps, microphones, digital workstations, all those things. Um, Still here until 7 o'clock. Any questions that you got, beginner, advanced, intermediate, any of the above, production, let me know. That's the way my corporate job. So Ray's saying that his corporate job at Northern Illinois University is going like towards that virtual streaming as well. And yeah, stuff like that is. I think it's just it was kind of coming up like through the past couple of years, with Twitch and Facebook Live and YouTube streaming and all that, just kind of steadily building. But it kind of seemed like a little bit of a, oh, this is just a thing that's going to happen, like, and it's not really going to normalize. But now, since the coronavirus, since COVID, obviously, streaming is becoming like just the way to go for a lot of things. Oh, baritone 6 string or 7 string guitar. Okay, hold on one second. So, for those of you who do not know the difference between a between a 6-string and a 7-string guitar. As you've seen most guitars, when you walk into a store or when you see someone playing live, it's almost always going to be a 6-string, just like any other guitar you've seen. But some guitars, like this one, this is my Ibanez S7420, and it is made in Japan. It's a beautiful guitar. It's got a tremolo system on it, so you can do sick whammies and stuff like that. But for the most part, the reason why I like playing a 7-string personally is because I double as both a rhythm guitarist playing things down low and, you know, having that extended range to go down to a low B and still have that E for like normal chording. But then I'm also a bit of a lead player too, so I like having that full range of high E all the way down, and just adding to it, as opposed to a baritone 6-string, which is something that actually my friend Tommy just got a brand new one. He got an ESP Eclipse baritone 6-string. I believe it's a 27-inch scale, and that thing is amazing. But you pick it up, and it's pretty obvious that you kind of just have to that you're focusing on like the lower notes, and any of the chords that you make are going to be based around that drop down tuning. It's almost like it's like tuning your guitar down to like B standard or drop A or something like that, your 6-string guitar, except that you've got like extra length on it for that lower tuning. With this, obviously we don't have like a longer scale on this. It's still just standard scale, but we got the lower tuning on there, and we're not really focusing so much on the ability to have like perfect bottom end. We're looking for range. But then in the past 10 years, companies like Ibanez, ESP, Schecter, a lot of great companies that traditionally make 7-string guitars started making even more baritone 7-string guitars where you get extra length. So if I'm playing personally, I'm really down on a 7-string. I love having that extra range and being able to play rhythm and lead. But when it comes to recording, man, that extra scale length, it makes a difference. And if you're just playing rhythm stuff, baritone 6 for sure. So I figured at some point in this stream I was going to pick up a guitar or something to show you guys something interesting. So, you know. I don't even know if you can hear that. This SM7B is a great microphone for vocals and talkback and everything, but I think it's a little bit tight when it comes to anything that's like not directly into it or something that's a little bit on the side, especially something quiet like an electric guitar like this. But yeah. We got my friend Gina on Facebook. How's it going, Gina? Good to see you. Thanks for coming by the stream. I'm answering questions about professional audio, video. I'm answering questions about music theory, studio setup, studio treatment, studio monitors, recording software, even things as nitty gritty as like pickups and, you know, like guitar bridges and components and drum lugs and different types of cymbals, different types of wood on drum kits, like any of that nitty gritty stuff. I kind of, you know, talk to a lot of different people about all this stuff on a daily basis. So I figured that I would just, you know, bring it all straight to you guys just directly, and I'm just here to answer your questions. All right, we got another question here. How often are you using impulse responses versus a cab? And he goes on to say, I've been using a Torpedo Captor, stock bass cab IR, and it's pretty heavy. Yeah, man. You know what's funny is we actually have a Torpedo, 2 Notes Torpedo live here. And mostly I was using that as a means to capture an amp, either when someone brings in their rig and they want to record live with their drummer, or if a band is just trying to record live overall. and I don't want to just plug into a guitar plugin. We actually want to use an amp, so I would use it like that for silent recording, which is an amazing tool because then you get all the actual sound and saturation of an amp. And yeah, those stock 2 notes IRs, like when you're pushing that little microphone around and you're picking your voicing and everything, it is fantastic. It is a great system. It is like it sounds like really close. Even some of the things in there, that cabinets and things that they're trying to emulate that we own, it sounds really close. So at that point, it becomes a great utility for a couple things. Like I said, band is trying to record live, or you just have no way that you can turn up and like get that like real live cabinet amp sound. That something like a Captor or a Torpedo Live, or in period I had a Weber Mass 200. People using the what is it, the Rock Crusher by Rivera. There's a couple other ones out there too, and they all do something a little bit different. But yeah, those are fantastic little devices. That being said, it is really hard to even compare those two things, or to compare those boxes to when you have actual air pushing into a microphone by means of a speaker woofer. If you have the ability to turn up and get loud pretty much whenever you want, like here at a recording studio or like over at Ray's studio, anywhere that you can turn up, it's a pretty good idea to like put a microphone or a couple of microphones on that cab and really try to make a sound. That being said, sometimes you just strike gold with a sound and like everything sounds right and it sounds good and you just want to roll with it. You don't want to mess with it, either timing constraints or anything like that. So at that point, having just like a solid box that you can plug into and be like, I know exactly how this is going to sound right now. Like, and also, like a week from now, a year from now, it's always going to sound the same. That's a great thing. It's very, very reliable. But most of the bands that I get walking through here, they kind of want to have, it's almost like taking a photograph of the band's sound at that moment. And like when they come into the studio and we pick sounds, we pick tones. And so I like to create something that's just right there on the spot. And like we all agree on it. We all say, yeah, that sounds amazing. We can, adjust anything that we have to. But yeah, I really like putting a microphone on a cab when we can. But yeah, those load boxes are a great utility. Like I'll never stop singing their praises. Oh, also to what you were saying, the stock bass cab IR, and it's heavy. Yeah, actually, even just our usual bass rig was me running like a dark glass into my Sans Amp RPM and things like that. But lately, I've actually been like not just taking that directly into the DAW, but I've been running that Sans Amp into the Torpedo and then into some of those bass IRs. And oh my gosh, yeah, they are heavy. I never really thought about that until the client said that he's been doing it a while back, and like, it's good, especially on bass. It's really good. We're getting more notifications here on Facebook. That's pretty cool. Lots of love from you guys. I really, really appreciate all the support that you guys have all given me and my partners here at the studio. Really trying to just, bring something to you all that that's going to be helpful, with this. It was a bit more of an ominous chord than I wanted to play, but we got another question here on Facebook. Our friend Sam. Hi, Vincent. I want to get tones, sounds, and overall production mixing with my plugins done for an upcoming project, but have it run through a summing mixer or a console at a nice studio. Is this available? If you're asking if it's available here, hold on. Basically, just running my mixes automated sims through an SSL or Neve somewhere. Is it better for me to print all of my individual tracks with my plugins and have a studio actually mix it through their console? Love the depth of the console sound. Yeah. So, if you've noticed, when you walk into a lot of recording studios, they're going to have a large format mixing console there, and those consoles usually come with, like lots of transformer based channel strips, like all in line discrete preamps that have a very specific like warm and deep sound to them, and that's, and it's definitely something that that we all try to emulate and we all try to create, when we're going in the box. And these days, things in the box honestly sound really, really nice. And there are some fantastic plugins out there. Waves actually creates one of them. I believe it's called the NLS channel, and it's almost like a summing mixer, emulation. But it comes close, but it's not the same. But that being said, not even every console is going to sound the same. And that's kind of the beauty of it. It's like you're taking a photograph of that sound of that specific console. So he's asking specifically, better for me to print all of my individual tracks with plugins and have a studio actually mix it through their console. So what I'm thinking about is the way that you run your mix. If you're looking to do things through a summing mixer, usually that's done by means of having your tracks grouped outside of all the individual mics. So let's say that you've got, your drums, and you got every individual mic on a drum kit. You're going to route all those to a drum bus, right? Some kind of, or an aux track labeled drums or anything like that, whatever DAW you're using. They all call it something different. But if you have that for your mix, if you've got your drum bus, and then you've got your guitar bus and your bass bus and your Vox 1 and your Vox 2 and things like that, and you're going down keys and any orchestral instruments, all that stuff, we call those stems, because it's basically like, it's not the individual leaves of a tree, it's or of your audio tree. It's actually like the more, like, you got more information pumping through those, and that's usually where you'll get your balance from, is on your stems. So a really common practice is to take those stems and export them in the highest quality possible, whatever you recorded at, and then bring those into a place where they have a beautiful SSL or Neve style console, and run them through their return groups, and or even through their channel strips, and make use of, sorry about that, and make use of some of the controls that are on there, and also to make use of some of the transformers that are in those consoles. It really just, it creates a texture that you can't quite describe. We try to, but you can't quite describe it. And so if you were looking for that kind of thing, Sam, I would say that that what you should do is find the studio that you love the sound of their console, because that's where it's going to come from. You're talking about running it through their gear, right? So find a studio that has your absolute favorite sounding console, and then bring your stems there, and and the engineer there can route things for you so that you can print them through the mixer, and then you can either do your stem mix there at the studio, or like just print them and back into Pro Tools, and then take them home, and then run your automation mix there at home, and then you get that print. But just knowing that once you do that, it's just like any other piece of analog hardware. You are going to be committed to that sound. So it really has to be like the final stages of a mix. Everything has to sound exactly how you want it to, or really, really close to it. And then you do that, because what you're looking for is close to an end product there. So, and to be fair, his earlier question, I think, was asking if it was possible here at our place. To be honest with you, I don't have $500,000 to spend on a massive, beautiful sounding recording console. There are some consoles that cost a lot less than that, but usually the ones that we're talking about cost a lot more when we're talking about things like printing and the console sound and stuff. But yeah, so I don't have that here. We're not that high of level of a recording studio. We're not $1 million studio, but there are a lot of places where honestly it's a pretty quick session. It doesn't take too long to do that. So you wouldn't be out a whole lot of money going to somewhere like CRC where you can pick between like 4 or 5 different kinds of consoles. So, and they're all amazing. All right, it is 6:50. We're not going down yet. We still got 10 more minutes left in this stream. Got my other friend Jenny. How's it going, Jenny? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by the stream. Let me know if you got questions about audio or video or music or anything of the sort. Got more notifications. I'm going to click through my streams here a little bit more. My throat, my stomach are making sounds. Sorry about that. I don't know if you can even hear that, but it's actually kind of a nice little feature of I was thinking about whether or not I was going to use this microphone, which like I said is a Shure SM7B, or if I was going to use some kind of large diaphragm condenser. I was thinking that I kind of wanted a you know, like a really detailed sound for this, but I felt like maybe the SM7B would kind of negate some of the like the odd noises of the room or me rustling around, things like that. Oh, we got another session, or I'm sorry, another question here. What kinds of sessions were I on at CRC? Ray was an intern, and he was in session with Chance the Rapper and R. Kelly, Big Oof. He said Big Oof, and I kind of agree, R. Kelly, but legendary man, but also whatever. We're not going to go into that. Justin Bieber and Mark Anthony. Dude, you were on some fantastic sessions at CRC. I didn't, in my limited time there, I didn't really get to do as much as I wanted to. I wasn't, I didn't really do anything big. I had some local bands and did a lot of cleanup and things like that. And for the most part, I wasn't able to keep up with the schedule that they wanted me to do, mostly because I was living in the suburbs and having to transport myself while also going to school and also trying to work. So I wish I could have done more with that opportunity. Oh, we got another question here from Jason. He's asking for the best way to use effects. Are they as inserts or sends in the channel? That is a great question, Jason. And let me break this down just a little bit, because when we say effects, and if you're able to type in chat and let me know, when we say effects, are you talking about things like time-based effects like reverb and delay, or are you talking about modulation like chorus, or are you talking about like EQ and dynamics like compressors, limiters, things like that? Because there's actually kind of a hierarchy there on like when and how you would want to use any of those things as either an insert or as an external send. Usually, when it comes to things like compressors, dynamic processors like compressors, limiters, and all the different types, multi-band compressors. Usually, we're using those things as an insert, because we're not afraid of like processing that audio in a very hard way, in a very as we would call it, destructive way. It's not actually destroying the audio, but it's just changing that original sound. And same goes for EQs, especially with EQs. Usually we're doing that right on the track, right on the insert, on the actual channel. When it comes to sends, what you're doing is you're splitting your original audio off so that you have the original through the channel strip, and then you're also going to send it to another strip that's going to run in parallel. Keyword parallel there, meaning that they're both going to be sending audio to your final bus. So with that fader that's on that extra bus kind of gives you a blend knob, right? It's almost like a 0 to 100 wet knob on like how much of that affected signal you want. So times that we'll use that are with reverb and delay, because it just gives us a little bit more control, especially when it comes to automation, on how much reverb or how much delay we want on the track. We lost video again. 1 second. I am going to figure that thing out, I promise, by Thursday. But that gives you a bit of like a wet dry knob when you're playing with that extra fader. And we're and then another way that you're going to use something like a dynamic processor on that auxiliary bus, on that auxiliary send, is for something called parallel compression, which we use a lot on things like drum bus, on acoustic guitar bus, sometimes on vocal bus, although like it kind of depends, but especially almost every mix is going to have a fair amount of parallel compression on the drums. So what happens there is you're sending your drum bus over, and then you'll do like heavy compression on the send, and then feed that in and kind of blend the two together. Can you use reverb and delay and all that stuff on your actual inserts? Yes, of course. Most plugins today are going to come with some kind of 0 to 100 mix knob or something like that. And, you can totally do that. But you do lose a little bit of control, and you also lose a little bit of connectivity there. Because, again, when you're sending something to an external bus, you literally have the ability to totally blend that out. But also, when it comes to those delays and reverbs, you also almost lose the ability to have that 100% wet cascading out sound if you just want something to kind of drift away. So if I'm going to be looking for something to just get really distant, I'm not going to be necessarily doing that on a send bus. I'm probably going to load the reverb into my original insert channel strip and then play with the blend knob. The other reason why it's nice to send time-based effects to an auxiliary send is because you're going to feed multiple things to it. Let's say that you got a couple of vocal buses and you want all of them to have reverb on them. Well, you don't want to put reverb on every single one because that's going to take up a lot of CPU, especially reverb plugins. They can use anywhere from like 5 to like 25-30% of your CPU just from having one of them on, depending on what you're using in your system. So you'll have one track that's just your reverb bus, and then you can send multiple vocals into that bus, and then bam, you got nice reverb on all of your vocals, only using one of them. So, yeah, great question, Jason. And we can talk a lot more about that, but it is getting to be about 7 o'clock, and I did only plan for this stream to be 1 hour long. So we started at 6, and let me see if, yeah, Jason, hopefully I answered the question well, man. Anytime. And I'm trying to do this stream Tuesdays and oh wait, Ray is asking one more question. I'll do that and then we'll close up. He asked if I'm using an EQ on my SM7B right now. Yes, I am. He said it sounds crisp. Thank you. I think so too. I really love this microphone. If I could, let me see if I can actually arrange OBS to capture. Yeah, I think I totally can. Check. We may have lost audio with that, but I'm going to show you the EQ that I'm using. I don't have this set up to like switch over right away, so I'm just going to do this really quick. And switch back and put the microphone back on. So what you saw there is that I'm using the Sheps 73 EQ plugin, which is emulating that of a Neve 1073 plugin with a little bit of its own flavor to it. Andrew Sheps is a world-renowned, probably like one of the greatest producers of all time. And if you noticed on there, I'm pushing the high end pretty tall on that EQ. And it's because this microphone by itself, very, very nice, very clean, but maybe a little bit bland sounding, right? But that's also kind of cool because that lets us kind of dig into our EQs and things a little bit more, and maybe get a little bit more of that processed, larger than life sound. And little bit of high boost, a little bit of actually I'm not really doing much in the mids. Definitely a low boost as well as a low cut that's happening. Because if I didn't have the low cut in there, this is kind of what it sounds like. So yeah, just little touches, you know, like not going too crazy, just giving things, you know, a little bit more life, a little more flavor. We got one more question, and then we're going to close up. Unless they keep coming in, then I'll stay and hang out with you guys. We got Josh asking, what is a decent, affordable 500 series preamp? That is a great question. There are some amazing preamps out there these days for the 500 series. Let me see if I can pull one up really quick. I've got a couple in mind, but honestly, like one of my absolute favorites, and I'm gonna post it into the chat. Where is it? Wow, wait, they got SSL has a VHD 500 series now. Rupert Neve 500 series. Oh my gosh, they got some beautiful stuff out there for not that much money. Let's see here. I was thinking of the 500 series API preamps because they are just always amazing, and they're it looks like they're still a little bit on that pricey side, but oh my gosh, like the sound that you get out of it, and the gain control, and you can plug any microphone into these things. They are absolutely amazing. Josh, I'm going to post this right here for you on Facebook. And then let me go through a couple other questions that he had. Do I use the switches on the back of my SM7B or prefer the EQ in post? That is another great. You guys got awesome questions tonight, man. This is great. So if I can show you, maybe let me adjust my stand here. I am using some of the switches that are on the back of this SM7B. Wait, there we go. It's a little out of focus. There we go. There are a couple little switches on here, and one of them is a bass boost or cut. I'm going to put this back so that you can hear me now. One of them is a bass boost, or is a bass cut, or to leave it flat, and then the other one is a high mid boost or flat. So basically, whenever I'm doing vocals with this microphone, I do really like to just leave the bass flat and hype the high mids, just because it's a Shure SM7B. Like I was saying, it can really benefit from a little bit of that extra push, a little extra flavor in some frequencies. Otherwise, it comes off a little bit bland. Especially on hip hop vocals, I'm doing that a lot. Screaming vocals, depending on the person's voice, I will either choose to duck that high mid boost out of there, because it just may come off as too harsh. And sometimes harsh is good, but you know, when we're trying to track something into the DAW, we don't want it super colored right off the bat. And when you're doing something that extreme. And then the same thing with the bass roll off. If someone has a really bassy voice and they're right up on it and they're really doing that kind of thing, then I will usually cut that back because I can hear it and I can feel it. It's kind of overloading the preamp a little bit more than I need it to. But for the most part, distance vocals, I got both of those. I got the bass flat with the high boost. I also love to use this microphone on hi-hat, just because it's such a tight pickup and it's not very sensitive to things that are around it, mostly what's right at what it's pointing at. So we are getting a low battery, so we do got to go soon, but I'm gonna finish this up by just saying that this microphone on hi-hat, I will always low cut and also leave the top end flat, because we just don't need it because it's hi-hats. But with vocals, you kind of got to use your ears. What kind of vocals are you recording? What kind of situation is it in? Do you want that extra flavor on there, or do you want to just do it all in post? With me, I know how it sounds, and sometimes I just want to use those switches. It's just easier. It's right there. So, okay, we do got that low battery indicator still, so I'm going to let you guys go. I don't have a name for this yet. I've just been calling it like the AMA tech stream. If you guys want to find me again, I'll be streaming again on Thursday, 6 p.m. Central Day. I think we're still in daylight time, right? Doesn't feel like it. 6 p.m. Central Daylight Time, answering all of your questions regarding audio, video, and music tech. Maybe a bit of music theory. If I get some nerds out there, we can nerd out a little bit. Let's be real. We're all nerds here. You got to embrace it, right? So I want to thank all of you for all the support that you've shown me through the stream. Thanks for the amazing questions, and I hope to see you guys soon. Take it easy.